Hello and greetings from Iceland. It's time to see the volcano with the thermal camera from the drone. And I will also be using the chance now to tell you about my trip up there and make sure that you have a link that I'm putting in the video description where you can actually see the eruption come up from the ground. And it's a must see if you haven't seen it already. But the bad news is that the area is closed now due to all the burning moss around. It's thick and dry. And it's been a huge problem to put out the fire. The Coast Guard helicopter was there all day, Saturday. It's the only way to get the water to the firefighters. And this situation will be reassessed on Sunday morning. And I will add that information into the video description as soon as I upload it. But as for my trip up there, I visited the volcano the day before they closed the area, last Thursday. I took off from Reykjavik around 9:30 in the evening and hiked those 10 kilometers and did my first drone flight shortly after midnight. And around 15 minutes later, I had lost the drone. I had to fight some wind and I got this low battery warning a bit earlier than I expected. I only had 3 batteries to work with up there and I was going to use them to the fullest. So I flew back beside this lava river. And I was also working on the camera settings, and the time flies when we are having fun. But my drone, it flies for only so long. And after the second battery warning, I did some navigation errors, and the drone went into emergency mode and landed just somewhere. And there were some words that came to my mind about my own performance up there, but I'm not going to repeat them here. But I do have this function on my remote that is called Find My Drone. But it didn't tell me anything about distance. I only had this arrow that I should follow, which I did, into a piece of land near the lava river where everything was burned and burning moss all around. And I was thinking, I hope the memory card is at least okay. So it was a bit depressing walking around in this burned land, chasing this arrow on the remote that seemed to be leading me into nowhere. And as I was getting tired, I found this pile of rocks where I could sit down with a little shelter from the wind, and as soon as I sat down, there he was, my DJI drone, looking at me like he was thinking, I knew you would come and pick me up. And the drone turned out to be fine. So I got my 3 flights with the DJI drone, and as I expected, some good moves, some mistakes, and some focus problems, which is very rare. But I had that problem also during the eruption in 2022. But most importantly, I came back with what I wanted to be on a memory card, more or less. And then it was time to fly the hotel. I was looking for abstracts to play with in my videos and abnormalities. And it's amazing to see how sensitive the camera in the drone is. Like in this shot we can see the lava field from 2021 glowing in the back 4 kilometers away. And those thin lines, it's the burning moss. So I got a bunch of shots that can make it into a separate video. It was just so weird to see this thermal view from a volcano. But the most important task for the thermal drone was to see the fire that wasn't visible. And you might remember that I made a video just a few days ago where I was talking about that our scientists believe that magma might still be intruding between Mount Keilir and the mountain Litli-Hrútur where the eruption is now. And they say that this dike is widening, and they mentioned especially this little hill that is actually called Little Keilir. So I knew that I had to go there. But first I checked out the land by the northeast part of the fissure. And the idea was to try to see if the fissure was extending to the north, or at least visible with the thermal view. But it wasn't the case. But when I came to Little Keilir, that's when things started to be interesting. The infrared view was detecting abnormalities there quite clearly. And when I turned the drone to the southwest, I could see that line heading there all the way to Mount Fagradalsfjall. And when I had the camera straight down like here, you can see the contrast even better. This lineup did not go any further to the northeast, although I did find a little spot there that seemed suspicious. But I didn't get very close to the other Keilir, the larger Keilir. But it was very easy to see some abnormalities there too. And after this flight I was running out of battery, so I went back, picked up a fresh battery, and swapped to another thermal palette. My drone has 10 color palettes to work with, or to get the contrasts as good as possible under different conditions. And as for the larger Keilir, I got similar results, but when I went to little Keilir, I didn't detect as strong signals, but looking back at that, I was further away. I was flying closer to the ground in the first flight. But I did, however, know that I had plenty to work with, and to hike any closer, that was simply not possible. Those 10 kilometers up there were plenty for me, and it was a painful walk back, and I came to Reykjavik 9 o'clock in the morning. And when I'm doing things like this tired, it's always more mistakes, like the last landing I did with my DJI drone. It was a bit rough, so I had to go to the DJI dealership in Reykjavik and get myself a set of new blades. So both the drones are fine. And as soon as I got back, I took some screenshots from those videos I'm showing you and sent them to one of the experts at the meteorological office. And I got a reply a few hours later, and this was interesting. And he would get this to his colleagues, and I've not heard from them since. Let's see how it goes. And we also have to bear in mind that I have no training when it comes to analyze data from infrared cameras over volcanoes or magma dikes. So I don't think it is appropriate to be losing myself over those results. They seem interesting to me, and the thermal scan that I did on a road that has been warming up from a geothermal source a while ago, it showed me clearly how extremely sensitive and good camera this is. But as for this area around the volcano and this magma intrusion especially, I need to get closer to get the readings better. Simple as that. And the main problem is to get up there. And I have been getting questions about alternative routes. Like I did some tricks to get the first shots a few hours after it started, just a road that I knew about that wouldn't be closed and a hiking tour, but that option is no longer usable while the situation is like this. And this thing about how to get there is actually good material for a video that I will do soon. And somehow I had a feeling that this eruption has just started. We are looking at weeks and months rather than days. This is not going to be like this budget barbecue that we got last year and faded out when lots of people were booking tickets. The eruption is going steady now. The landscape up there will never be the same. And our government just got a new minister now. And she was actually talking about ways to make the hiking trip shorter and easier for all of us. She's new in the job and wants to, get some credits from the voters. And I think she has actually some understanding when it comes to the tourist market, because before she went into politics, she sold ice cream. So we are very confident that this former ice cream seller will help us all to make the most from this experience to see this volcano, because it's just awesome to be up there and look at this natural force at work and feel the ground rumble under you. So when I will finish this video upload, I will add information about when the volcano site will open up again, and links to news in English, because I know that there are a lot of people waiting. And I'm still here in Reykjavik, and I won't be back home north until 1-2 days, so I can sit down there in peace, do some editing, because I have so much material to work with now. And I suspect that I will have to be ready to hurry back south to get some of the red stuff on film again, because this volcano, it won't be going soon, or so I think. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.